Rivers of the Mind, Season 3, Episode 6, 1000 Years of Sleep.
There were no stars there in the sunless sky above our heads. No birds soared by. No clouds blew past us. No moon stared down on our weary bodies. There were no voices or city lights for miles. Only the sound of our imagined breathing, set against the flickering of blue flames at the distant edges of the night sky, mingling with the sounds of the river. The water moved along with perfectly spaced ripples that looked like the roofs of houses silhouetted by headlights, gliding by us like set pieces on perfectly aligned metal tracks.
Man, I shouldn't have killed that fucking bird.
Well, what do you mean?
It all started when I killed that bird. It's like a monster, like a fucking demon. And now I'm cursed.
You think you're cursed?
I've got a fucking demon bird inside of me. It's in my fucking rib cage right now, just sitting here where my heart should be. It's a fucking monster. I want it out of me. I want it out.
I guess I know how you feel.
Yeah, you know what it's like to have a bird in your fucking ribcage?
Not exactly, but kind of like right before I went unconscious. The last thing that I remember as a real person with like a real body was I had someone in my head, Nick. At the time he seemed like this complete monster, but at the same time maybe it was just that I didn't really understand him, maybe. It's like he was everything I was afraid of being. Everything I feared that I was back before I left. I thought I could fix him, I guess, if I pulled him into my mind and tried to teach him a lesson or whatever. But when he was in there, it just felt wrong, especially now that I think about it. Feels like just letting him into my head was a mistake by itself. And when I tried to pull him back, some part of him forced me out and wasn't in my body too much longer before Ryan came along, and then having him in my head. It's the same thing almost, but it was worse. It was more than a monster in my head. Sometimes he felt like he was my friend. Sometimes I even looked up to him. Now it just feels like, I don't know what it is, but it feels like it's kind of the same thing.
I guess I felt that way about my dad, actually.
Yeah?
Sometimes I haven't ever told anyone about it. He's why I left home all those years ago. When I was born, he was in Germany, and my mom was back home in San Diego. My first memory of him was waiting with Grandpa for him to come home, and I was so excited I could barely breathe. He was like totally mysterious, and he was a heroic figure in my mind. And my mom showed me pictures of him and told me all these stories about him. And I remember him coming through the door and sitting across from me and handing me a stuffed bear. And he seemed good, but I could see in his eyes that he just didn't look happy to see me. He was happy, but behind the happiness he was sad or scared or something. I couldn't tell then. I just remember something was wrong, and for the first time I knew in my own 3-year-old way that he was a real human, if that makes any sense. I remember the first few days with him back were peaceful enough to cement the impression that my dad was a sort of sweet, heroic man handing me a teddy bear. But one day, like, I remember my mom had a bloody nose, and it was when we were getting dressed for Shabbat. And I didn't understand why she was bleeding. I didn't understand until I put it together later that night when I heard them fighting. And it was the first time I had heard people yelling like that. I remember I went up to the top of the stairs to peek out my head, and I saw my dad. He was red in the face, and my mom was I'd never seen someone so scared in my life. And it got worse from there. He was a fucking monster sometimes. But I swear to God, though, even after I ran away, I could never make myself hate him. I never stopped worrying that something was going to happen to him while I was gone. I still remembered in the back of my mind the stuffed bear that afternoon and waiting for him to come home. I know what he could have seen over there. I know it did something to him. I know that deep down he probably wasn't prepared to see what he'd seen. It just seems like he felt guilty about something. But he never talked about why. I heard him crying in his room some nights, but he never talked about it. Real men don't cry in front of their daughters, I guess was his idea. Maybe he killed someone, or maybe he watched someone die. Whatever it was, there was some sort of ghost haunting him. Maybe that's what the bird is. It's the same ghost he had inside of himself. The same ghost that made my dad want to hurt me, made me inside a riot in a city. I don't want to think that we have anything in common. I don't want to think that because we can't. My whole life, I've tried to be the opposite of what he was, you know? Free spirit, peaceful, loving. I'm sorry. I should just stop being such a downer.
No, you're fine. I'm sorry that you're carrying all of that around. All of the pain from your dad. I can only imagine.
You've probably known since the moment you met me.
Yeah. But thanks for telling me. I guess I know you feel with the bird too. Like, I know what it feels like to kill something.
Yeah?
You know what he kept trying to make me do? Ryan, I mean...
What?
He kept taking me back to North Dakota. To my office. Right before I left. He'd ask me, you ever wonder what it would feel like if you stopped running? If you took the fight to them like you did the night before you left? And after a few hundred goes at it, I told him that I'd dreamed about it before. And he asked me about the dream. And eventually I told him. And he'd say, every time, but you wanted to do it, so somewhere, deep down, didn't you? No, I kept saying, but he kept doing it. He kept on asking me again and again and again, and I kept saying no. After a lot of back and forth, I guess he got bored, so instead of just rewinding, he killed me. Each time he killed me, it was worse. He could make it happen as slow as he wanted. He could do it any way he wanted, and to dying all those times, it split me up. I know that sounds weird, but every time he killed me, there'd be another copy of me somewhere who he didn't kill. And he didn't let me forget any of it. He didn't let me get closed off to anything. I stayed aware of every single reality where he was asking me those goddamn questions, where I was dying and then restarting and suffering in a million different places all at once, until eventually I just said I'd do it, and he handed me a gun. And every time he handed me the gun, I felt this tiny little bit of relief. In at least one part of my mind, it's like I wasn't hurting anymore, and the pain was so much that I couldn't help myself. So bit by bit, I took the gun in each reality until I felt myself come back together. He didn't have to tell me anything else. He didn't have to say anything, just to get out of the way. He taught me how good it felt to hold the gun, to kill people. And when I realized that I'd given in, I felt corrupted. I felt like it didn't matter if I killed someone again. So I kept killing people. And anytime I had second thoughts, he just needed to give me a small taste of what he could do to me. And so eventually I just killed. And then killed without thinking and without feeling. I killed entire cities and entire planets. And there's like other parts of me. You know, there's parts of me that resisted him, and there's parts of me that overcame him, and there's other parts of me that like met you, that killed him instead. There's other parts that I feel like are better than I really believe I can ever actually be in real life. But I still feel like the killer that he turned me into is inside of me somewhere. And it's terrifying. Back by the river, when the prophet was in the column of water, I was terrified to actually use my powers to connect with his mind, because I don't know which one of those people I am. Like the person who beat him or the person who gave in. I didn't know if I'd end up hurting all those people.
And then he died anyway. I mean, the whole situation was fucked.
Yeah. This is all pretty fucked.
I told Babylon about peace and love, and they drug their prophet to the edge of the city and shot him full of arrows. I saw them loot some old lady's room.
Yeah. It's weird. I think the irony was lost on them, though.
What do you mean?
Well, the prophet put the jewels on the door, and you said to tear the jewels down. The prophet told them that the sculptors and the tanners worked inferior trades, and you said that they should be equals. He said that peace meant order, and you said that peace meant freedom. You said they needed to cast off their old way of doing things and welcome the new. But the prophet created their old way of doing things. He symbolized the old way. He was the old way. So, no more old way of doing things, no more prophet.
Huh. Right, well, so it's like they needed to get rid of his power there in order to have true peace and love. And that's the easiest way to do it. Just get rid of him, like, literally. People have been trying to figure this shit out for many years, like, since forever. Since we had cities. It's not like I expected them to magically change overnight. They're only human. I am too, right? And it wasn't all bad to melt into the river and turn into a bird. That's pretty cool. And I got a free pet. Like, I hope I'm not supposed to feed it, though.
What does it feel like like, physically?
What does it feel like? I don't know. Think of what it feels like to have a spleen, only it's moving. And it's also like a parrot thing. That's what it feels like.
I can't imagine it.
Yeah, it's pretty weird.
You know what it said to me right before it charged back at me?
Huh. You didn't tell me.
It said, "I'm ready." It wasn't scared, it wasn't angry, it was as calm as it could be. It didn't want to hurt me. It's almost like it wanted to die.
I don't know if that reassures me all that much.
I wasn't sure. I thought it might help if you knew that, but I don't know.
Thanks, I guess. So what's our plan? Follow the river until we find a door marked this way to the real world?
Yeah, maybe we have to. Unless I can talk to Megan, reach her somehow.
You think you can?
She's out there somewhere. But who knows? Time might be moving at a different speed here. She might be close to rescuing us, but from our perspective, it could feel like a long time.
How long?
Years, centuries, it's hard to say.
Well, let's hope it doesn't take too long.
A century is not actually as long as it seems. Once you've made it past the first one, the next couple just fly by, comparatively speaking.
Comparatively speaking, huh? Yeah, great. Do you think it's worth it to try to sleep?
Who knows? I'm not even sure what time it is.
I'll try. I mean, I'm a heavy sleeper. I mean, of course you're a heavy sleeper, Sapphire, you're dead. Am I right?
I sat beside her as she tried to fall asleep, equally uncertain as to how much a ghost actually needed to sleep, or when it would be daytime, or if there would be daytime, or really what to do with myself now that Sapphire had laid down and shut her eyes. Should I lay down? Maybe it would take me to the ocean of dreams, or even back to my body if I tried to fall asleep.
I can see through my goddamn eyelids.
I'm, sorry.
Sapphire rolled over onto her belly.
This is a little better.
I laid back, looking up towards the flickering sky. My eyelids were, also translucent, now that I thought about it. It was like looking into a deep, dark, tinted window. Following Sapphire's lead, I rolled over onto my stomach to block out the light. Silence. For a little while. It felt as though it had been 1,000 years since I'd woken up in Jerry's guest room in the morning, and I hadn't slept since. It felt like those 1,000 years had passed without any rest. I missed Jerry. Thinking of him, thinking of the farm, thinking of those few precious days before I left, I drifted into a deep sleep, one heavy and almost bereft of dreaming. I felt my body melt away. I felt like I was somersaulting into the air, hurtling into space like a dead satellite, aimlessly tumbling through the sky. But still, it was a good sleep, and I needed it more than I realized. Sleeping there and still not returning to any semblance of anything like a real world or my real body. At the edge of the sky, the atmosphere was coming unwoven, coiling around the planet in blue and white ribbons. I could see them peel away, floating up into a bizarre, otherworldly space beyond my comprehension. I watched this for a while until I started to feel the presence of something looking down at me. A sinister face, hundreds of times larger than the entire planet. Human, but only superficially. Upon closer inspection, any veneer of humanity on its face proved only illusory. It was a constellation of eyes, faces, mouths that studied us like bacteria under a microscope. I jolted awake, freezing still as I heard the footsteps of 3 men approaching us.
The poor girl looks dead, sir. I'm not so sure about the other one.
Indeed. It is a worrisome moment finding 2 corpses on the shore upon our return.
Quit your superstitious yammering. Let's have a closer look.
He studied our clothes and bodies carefully. As he did so, I looked into his mind, treading carefully for fear of dislodging anything important. His name was Dedjerba. He had navigated this river all the way to its source, at the end of a place called the Doldrums. His own city saw him as a hero of great and timeless renown.
Well, perhaps we ought to wake her.
Aye, sir. Hey! Hey there! You dead? Hello?
Hey, who's there?
By the gods! She's alive!
Fair maiden, what terrible things have befallen you? Did you fall into the river?
Yes? No, definitely not. Hi there. Pleasure to meet you. My name's Sapphire. This is John.
She stood up, reaching out to greet him. The man stared down at her outstretched hand.
Did you mean to give me something?
No, that's a handshake. I guess those haven't been invented yet where you folks are from.
She's gone mad, sir.
Well, I'd say. Look into those eyes. Mad as Oitelotep.
Settle down, settle down. This is my first mate, Telemakso, my navigator, Eurycleo, and
you
I...
are no doubt Dedjerba.
Oh, you have heard of me?
Surely. Your name is among the most renowned in all parts of the world.
Yeah, Dedjerba. I've heard of you.
Well, how delightful it is to meet people who have heard of my exploits. I have indeed traveled to the very edge of the world, staring into the birthplace of the river that births all things. I have seen dragons with glowing eyes who growl and fume with smoke through dark valleys. I have seen races of men with 2 heads who sharpen their teeth and kill their enemies when they go to war. I have seen cities built in the tops of trees, bridged by oak planks and strong hemp rope. I have seen flowers of colors I did not have words to describe.
Sounds pretty righteous, man.
Oh, well, I would hardly call my adventures righteous. But what of you 2? From where do you come?
Yes, of course. It is only natural that one should ask, no? One never knows when they will meet another explorer.
You are also explorers, then?
Indeed. We have gone on a voyage into the mountains of Nur, where winged oxen with the tails of scorpions stampede across open valleys, where kingdoms of dwarf men huddle around campfires exchanging sacred oaths in peculiar tongues, where there are flowers that glow in the night.
What a pleasure to meet the both of you. And yet you travel alone.
We were once many, but we lost many of our party in the fire swamp.
The fire swamp?
Yes, the fire swamp. It's filled with giant rats.
Are you making all of this up?
Yeah, that last one was from a movie. I don't know, I'm kind of just making stuff up. I used to LARP in high school, and never mind, I don't want to explain it. Just follow my lead.
What fearsome and terrible things you must have witnessed. Perhaps I could offer you a ride on my ship. We cannot be more than 3 days back to our home city. It would be at least a fortnight on foot. And you can regale me with your stories.
Certainly. My navigator here and I would love to be blessed with some pleasant company.
Telemakso, bring this man aboard. I await our conversations, good sir.
Of course. If anyone asks, you're my navigator.
Yeah, so I've heard. I hope no one asks me to look at a compass or some shit, because then we're fucked.
Rivers of the Mind is written and produced by Timmy Vilgiate. It featured Timmy as John and Eurycleo, Sophie Doss as Sapphire, Nicholas Kline as Telemakso, and Michael Merriam as Dedjerba. Sound effects for this episode were sourced from freesound.org, and music was made by Timmy. Consider supporting our show on Patreon at patreon.com/TimmyVilgiate or by leaving us a review on iTunes. Thanks and have a great day. Bye.